Well, I really am happy to be back here with you guys. And my talk today is about being still. But there's a lot that has to happen before we get to that place of stillness. And yet, that is the place from where we start. So, culturally, I was raised a Christian. And if you were too, it was probably because of where you were born. If I had been born somewhere else, that might not be the case, right? I just kind of take that for granted, or at least I did, until someone in my family actually told me that I wasn't a Christian according to his definition. I was shocked for a moment and I was kind of stunned, would be more accurate actually. I felt time slow down and I let that punch land fully on my heart. Surprisingly, I didn't feel the need to push back or return an eye for an eye. I finally just said, well, I was taught that I was a child of God and that I am loved as such. And I believed it. Then I asked him, do you love me? Not because I'm related and you're supposed to love me, but really deep in your heart, do you love me? Because I know I love you from there. And I think it's because that's where I feel loved. Yes, by Jesus, by my Creator. No matter what anyone says to me or what it's called, that's when I knew that what it was called, which are religion's names, didn't really matter to me anymore. And I truly felt free of that fear that I had also been taught to fear the Lord, etc. Truth is, I didn't fear the Lord. I felt the love I had read about in the red letters, the actual teachings and words attributed to Jesus in the Bible. Thank goodness, because these words have been my spiritual foundation. And they were only love and kindness, the teachings of love. Everything else I might have learned was always measured against this. Recently, the topic has come up again about identification. To me, these are all just labels and words and have no significance except that which I'm willing to give them. When people ask, is Unity Christian? I say, well, it's not Christian, it's unity. Is it spiritual or religious? Well, it's unity. What does that mean to you? How is that understanding of unity being expanded in you? I know that through my journey, it has been continuing to expand in me. Maybe that's why we're feeling those so-called growing pains. I know I'm feeling them. I can tell you what it means to me. I can tell you that I'm okay with these words like God, Jesus, Christ, etc. And I know that some folks aren't. Yet, what I know goes a lot deeper than that. And there are lots of words I could use to describe it. So I don't let that limit me or expect others to use the same words or limit them based on the words they use. We know, and what we know through our experience. And that's how it probably all began in the first place. The experience of the one power and one presence active in us. That was the all that is, creation itself. Any divisions or separations were man made, ego driven, and frankly, still are. I know I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and so is everyone else around me. This time around, I experience my being as a woman living in Texas, and I identify with and as many things in this life, but they are not the truth of who I am. And as a student of unity, I am a student of truth. And I can only know this truth when I can see things with the eyes of love. Christ, Buddha, Great Spirit, Source, etc. all are just terms used in limitation. Ultimately, I'm a consciousness incarnated. I am word, an aspect of the creator in expression. That's my highest expression and potential, and it's everyone's around you too. If you're walking around with a cup full of coffee and someone bumps into you, what happens? Coffee would spill out, right? What if it was full of water? Then that would be what spills out. What bumps into you is life, experiences, opportunities. What spills out of you is consciousness. We see a lot of people spilling out their consciousness, high, low, and in between. That's what we're seeing. And it's a gift to our humanity that we're seeing it. For how else could we attend to it? Our work is to attend to what is inside, where we are in consciousness, what we are expressing. Our principles help us remember. It's all God, one power, and discern through prayer and meditation, and inform us to take inspired action as love in action. One of the living channels of this truth that I have been learning from for several years now is the conscious channel named Paul Selig. So I came to know about this channel when I was deep in my last parts of the study for Licensed Unity Teacher. I got an email and it said that I had signed up for a workshop for this channel named Paul Selig. And, you know, at the time I was really deep into Unity teachings, Charles Fillmore, you know, I was reading metaphysics and I wasn't into channels. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't have anything against it. I just didn't have a thought about it. It just was not my thing. So I read that email and I was really curious, like, why would I sign up for go see a workshop for the channel? Who's this guy, Paul Selig? Never heard of him. And so I did a really quick little search, you know, on Google or YouTube, and I saw him doing his very early videos of his channeling, and I'm like, okay, for sure, I did not sign up for this. I did not sign up for this. And then something said to me, no, yeah, you did, and you paid money. So that was really interesting. I thought, what? What do you mean I paid money? So I looked up my Discover account, you know, I checked in, and I had paid $100 to go to this workshop. And I don't know about you all, but you know, I'll order stuff sometimes from Amazon and I forget about it. But when it shows up and I open the package, I remember I ordered it, right? But I did not remember or have any recollection that I had signed up, took out my credit card, and paid to go see this workshop for this channel named Paul Selig. So, you know, that wasn't lost on me. I said, all right, I guess I'm supposed to be there. So I went. And his first book is called I Am the Word. And when I sat to listen to his talk, So he channeled these teachings. What I was hearing was what I was learning in Unity about Charles Fillmore. I mean, to me, he sounded just like Charles Fillmore, the same teachings. So this really caught my attention. And I have a lot to share about my experience with this teaching, and I'm planning to do that with you all as I continue uh, serving and speaking on a monthly basis. But I just wanted you to know that that's how this came to be for me. So now he doesn't claim to be a teacher. He serves as a channel, which he experiences as being a radio, and he tunes into a teaching that comes through him. So here's a quote from one of his books. This is from the Book of Mastery. Now the eyes of the Christ hold no judgment, do not perceive in fear, have no investment in being right or making another wrong. She knows who she is. She is unafraid, and consequently, what she sees in the perfection that is inherent in all things. What does it mean to see with the eyes of the Christ? I see with the eyes of the Christ. So let's replace the word with love. I see with the eyes of love. I can see the correlation in truth to the scripture in 1 Corinthians. You may have heard this at your wedding, maybe at a wedding perhaps, or if you're, read Bible or grew up with Bible, you would know this particular quote. It's from a letter to the followers of Christ by Paul about love. And love, as I define this, as Christ consciousness. So it states, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. This is what is meant by the eyes of the Christ, the eyes of love. The descriptor, follower of Christ, was first used in reference to Jesus' disciples in the city of Antioch in 3 places in the Bible. And those were referenced to those who did not acknowledge the emperor of Rome. So it was a negative label culturally. And maybe that's what's happening now again. I don't know. These labels are weapons of separation. They're not love. You might have heard the term woke used as a derogatory term. Somehow being awakened to Christ in consciousness is not a good thing. The question for our discernment, not a good thing for whom? So another quote from the Book of Mastery, Paul Selig channels the guides, who identify actually as a priesthood of Melchizedek. So there's a whole story behind that. So this is the quote. Now the divine as you, who may witness another, knows the power of sight, the power of perception. When you see the children before you who have been told that they are bad, who hold themselves in shame, and you see all with the eyes of the Christ, love, you are lifting them. You are bringing them up to their own potential in realization, not as our small selves, but in alignment to Christ consciousness through the eyes of love. If we join together for the highest good of all concerned, we're not taking sides or deciding for another what things should be. We're in unity with the will of our higher power as love to lift the situation in our minds, in our hearts, and in our expression as the aspect of the Creator in form. Now, when I read that too, what brought to my mind was a teaching in the Bible in Philippians 4:8. There's all kinds of background to this Philippians, but technically in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, they state this particular passage requires no metaphysical interpretation, which I just love that. In other words, it is what it is. So this is the teaching. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honorable, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good or of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things, the things which you both learned and received and heard and saw in me. These things do, and the God of peace shall be with you. I'm learning to see with the eyes of the Christ, with the eyes of love. I'm willing to add more love to the field of consciousness around me, in our world and in our human affairs, through my thoughts, through my words, through my actions. I'm willing to align to unity of heart and consciousness for the highest good of all concerned without thinking I know what that should look like for anyone else. I'm willing to let the Christ consciousness see through my eyes and bring light. This is what brings us wisdom and discernment. We can all do this, but we must be willing to serve in vessel consciousness. So how? It's a big question. How? Well, first of all, of course, we talk about these two a lot, and there's still a challenge, and that's gratitude and forgiveness. So gratitude is one of the doorways. It switches this inner mechanism. Tuning the heart to gratitude provides warmth and an uplift in our spirit, which supports a state of flow in how we handle situations and decisions. Focusing on the gratitude for knowing that God is helps me align to the frequency of Christ consciousness in me, and it can help you align too. Use this in your meditation to align to gratitude as a practice. No matter what I may see or hear before me, I remember God is. I hold that in my consciousness as gratitude and allow it to inform my next thought, word, and action. Forgiveness as a practice also helps to reactivate this flow. Let go and let God is our mantra. So what are we really letting go? We're letting go of what we think it should be. Our way shower Jesus' final words were, not to God in the sky, but to his small suffering self in the midst of his human experience. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. This opened the gates of transcendence. The guides through Paul Selig teach, what you hold in darkness calls you to the darkness. Many people separate from a family member or friend because of a hurt that they couldn't release. The tendency to hold onto bitterness and anger is understandable. It's very human of us. Unforgiven feelings can quietly drain our energy, along with creating shades of flatness in our joy and happiness. This is the cost. By practicing forgiveness, we reactivate our heart energy. We start the process of releasing pent up hurt or animosity and its negative effects on our mental, emotional, and physical health. The genuine practice of forgiveness increases the love flowing through our system and releases those neurochemicals and hormones that soothe and improve well being. We also understand that forgiveness is a complex subject that may require professional help or coaching, but it is a way through. Moving more love, putting more love into the field. We move into the spirit of love in expression. Love as intelligence is recognizing our shared humanity. This is an important time to have more love moving through our systems. More heartfelt care is needed to renew relationships and get along with each other, even when we disagree. To hold that field of love as Christ consciousness in frequency and energy, which can only bring good. So remember this quote: I have no energy for hate. I either love you, wish you well, or hope you heal. So here are two more. Patience. Love in the form of patience supports our ability to manage our energies from a place of ease in the heart, especially when people say things we don't agree with or we're in situations we don't like. We often forget to practice patience when we need it the most in relationships. Doc Childer, who's the founder of Heart Math, said, patience is often intelligent waiting. And here's a new one: compassionate latitude. Compassionate latitude. So, compassionate latitude understands that most people, including us, are doing the best they can based on their background, their stress overload, and the clouded thinking that many of us are experiencing during these unpredictable times. Acknowledge the fear of humanity in us all. Hold this space of compassion for yourself and for others. If there is a devil that makes people do things, it's probably fear. We don't need to add more of that into the field. Practicing compassionate latitude can quickly begin to reduce reactivity and prevent stress buildup from frustration and judgments. Having compassionate latitude can help us manage our differences without shutting off our heart connection. Yes, it's a big challenge. It's a big, big challenge. It's our outer edge of spiritual development. It's what we're all being given a huge opportunity to learn and manifest. So a while back, I taught you a practice of loving kindness meditation. Remember? That's a good one to use. You're really challenged here. This place of inner stillness is our connecting point. Let's never forget to go there first, to be still and to know that the power and the presence of God is in this. Thank you all.